CreepyCorner stories.
Hey folks, before we dive into tonight's stories, I want to give a huge thank you to Kieran Tibbetts and Lisa Collin for supporting the channel and being amazing members. So if you enjoy what you hear tonight, you're in the right place. Now, grab your headphones, turn off the lights, and let's step into another amazing night. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment below. What kind of story hits you the hardest? The ones that feel too real, or the ones that could actually happen to someone you know? I took a dark web job, babysitting a teenager. The parents forgot to mention he doesn't sleep and he doesn't blink. Yo, what's up guys? I've never posted here before. Hell, I barely even read stuff on r/no sleep unless I'm high and spiraling down a YouTube rabbit hole at 2 a.m. But this isn't a story I can keep to myself. It's been 3 weeks and I'm still not sleeping right. I flinch every time my phone buzzes. My right eye twitches when I drive past a McDonald's. You'll see why. Anyway, I guess I should start from the beginning. I'm a 22-year-old dude from Seattle. Just finished my last year of college, journalism major, which basically means I'm broke and extremely online. I was looking for summer gigs while waiting for my internship to kick off in September. I tried Fiverr, Upwork, the usual suspects, but everything was either scams or paying pennies. I even put out a few tweets like, "Someone pay me to do literally anything legal, please." One night, I'm doom scrolling TikTok and watching one of those "you won't believe this dark web story" accounts. You know the ones. Robot voice, red text, Minecraft parkour in the background. Dumb, but fun. I comment something like, "Bet this is fake lol." Literally 2 minutes later, I get a DM on Instagram from some random account. No profile picture. Username was just like @user0283744_X or whatever. The message was just, "Still think it's fake." I laughed, thought it was a troll. Replied with, "Lamau, okay, what you got, Creepypasta King?" Half expecting a rickroll. They reply, "Serious offer, $3,000, 1 night of work, babysit my son." I paused. I don't follow sugar daddy bots or anything, so this didn't feel like the usual phishing scheme. It felt weirdly targeted. Still, I kept going. "Lol, sure. Where?" I asked, thinking they'd say, "Your mom's house." They sent me an address in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada, and then they sent a link. Not a .com, not a .org, something like xv6l7gpe.onion. I knew what that meant. Tor browser, dark web. Now I'd used Tor once or twice, mostly out of curiosity after seeing YouTube stories about red rooms and hitmen. Never really dug deep. I wasn't trying to end up on a watch list. But this, I don't know. Something about the way the messages were written. Polite, calm, no threats, no begging, just facts. $3,000, 1 night, babysit, and I was broke. So I downloaded Tor again. I know, dumb move, but tell me you wouldn't at least look if someone offered you a few racks for basically watching Netflix all night and maybe microwaving some pizza rolls. The site was ultra basic. White background, black text. Looked like Craigslist if it had been built by an AI trained on instruction manuals. At the top it said, "Caregiver services, confidential household staffing. Welcome. You've been selected." There was no sign-up form, no contact info, just a single button that said accept. And somehow, I was already logged in. I don't even know how they linked my browser to me, but the name at the top said user JDole. Not my username anywhere, not even close. I should have clicked out, but I didn't. I hit accept. Immediately, the page refreshed and gave me an itinerary. You will arrive at 145 Rue du Pont, Vancouver, BC, at 8 p.m. on Saturday. You will remain in the house until 6 a.m. You will not use your phone after midnight. You will not allow the boy to leave the living room. Do not ask the boy questions about his sleep habits. Payment will be deposited into your account by 7 a.m. Do not speak to the neighbors. Do not bring weapons of any kind. Failure to follow the rules will result in forfeiture of payment. That last one sent a chill through me. Forfeiture sounded final. Still, I googled the address. It was a real house. Nice looking too. One of those modern grey homes with black trim, tucked on a quiet cul-de-sac. Zillow said it was worth $2.1 million. I figured, rich people are weird. Probably just overprotective and into NDAs and power trips. Whatever. I said yes. Fast forward to Saturday night. I rent a zip car, drive up past the border, smooth ride the whole way. I didn't tell anyone where I was going, not even my roommate. Again, dumb. I just kept thinking, worst case scenario, I don't get paid. I watch a kid play Fortnite for a few hours and bounce. I pull up at exactly 7:58 p.m. There's no one outside. The street is dead quiet, but I can tell someone's watching because the front door creaks open the second I step out of the car. No one in sight, just the sound of the door slowly swinging. I walk up, step inside. The house smells like new furniture and lemon cleaner. There's plastic wrap on everything, the couches, the chairs, even the TV remote. The lights are all that weird off-white color, like hospital lighting, cold and humming. No one greets me, no sign of parents, just a note on the counter. He's in the living room. Do not engage unless necessary. Stay awake. You will be watched. Below that, a black envelope. Inside was a debit card with my name already printed on it, and underneath that, active upon successful completion. Okay, I think. Time to meet the kid. I head to the living room, and there he is, sitting perfectly still on the couch, hands in his lap. Dark brown hoodie, khakis, white socks. He looks maybe 13 or 14, skinny but not sickly. Short black hair, pale skin, eyes, wide, way too wide. Hey, I'm here to hang with you tonight, I say. Try to sound chill. He doesn't blink. Cool. You want pizza? Netflix? Still nothing. And then he smiles and says, without moving a muscle, I like your skin. I blink. What? But he doesn't repeat it. He just turns back to stare at the blank TV screen, like it's playing something only he can see. And that's when I realize the remote's gone. I check behind the couch, under cushions, nowhere to be found. I turn back to the boy, and the TV is on, and he's still staring. And I swear to God, the show on the screen, it's me. Me walking into the house, me finding the note, me entering the living room, like it's playing my night. 30 seconds behind. I try to turn it off. No buttons work. The power cable is missing. And when I turn around again, the kid is gone. Not in the kitchen, not in the hallway. Gone. And the TV is now showing a hallway I haven't seen yet. A door, locked with a chain, and footsteps approaching. The lights flickered once, like a nervous tick in the walls. 1 second, I'm standing there in the empty living room. The next, there's something wrong about the air, like static before a storm. Heavy, electric, watching. I didn't call out for the kid. My mouth was too dry. And somewhere deep inside me, something primal, old, ancestral, told me, don't speak. Don't let it know where you are. The The TV behind me was whispering. I swear to God it was whispering, not playing anything recognizable now. No visuals, just grey fuzz and a voice muttering, low and fast and disgusting, like someone chewing gravel underwater. I heard my name, not just once, repeating, Jadol, Jadol, Jadol. I turned around, and the kid was back, standing in the doorway. But he wasn't standing right. His knees were locked backward, like a broken marionette, and his arms hung a little too long. His head was tilted, not like a confused dog, more like a twitchy security camera. Precise, unnatural. His mouth was a perfect line, not smiling, not frowning, just waiting. His pupils were so dilated, his eyes looked all black. I stepped back. He mirrored me. One step. I took another. So did he. No sound, no breathing, no blinking. Just the soft creak of the plastic-wrapped floor beneath my feet. Then he spoke, and it was not a boy's voice. It was like 20 people speaking through a drain pipe, all at once. You're going to help me find my face. My stomach dropped like a bad elevator. I wanted to bolt. I should have. But instead, like the biggest idiot in horror movie history, I asked, "What do you mean?" And that's when I heard the first scream, not from him, from beneath the floor, muffled, wet, rasping, a woman's voice, choking on something, then silence. I ran. I didn't care about the rules anymore. I didn't care about payment. I sprinted into the hallway, past the kitchen, through a door that led to the basement, the door from the TV, the one with the chain. It was real, and the chain was unlocked. I pushed it open. The smell hit me first, not rot. Worse, sanitized decay, like someone had tried to clean up after something horrific. Bleach and blood, air freshener and bile, a cover-up smell, industrial, intentional. The basement was lined with mirrors, not funhouse ones. Full-length, clean, crystal clear mirrors. Dozens of them, floor to ceiling, covering every wall. Except they didn't reflect me. I could see the stairs behind me in the glass. I could see the railing, the bare light bulb above my head swinging slightly. But not me. I was invisible in all of them. Then, slowly, he stepped into the frame, not behind me, just in the mirror. His eyes glowed a dull, sickly orange in the reflection. His mouth opened wider than it should have, like the jaw unhinged. Blood oozed out from under his chin as he spoke again. I lost my face in here. The walls pulsed. One of the mirrors shifted like it was breathing. Then the lights went out. No noise, no footsteps, just blackness and a faint scraping sound, like fingernails on steel. Close, way too close. And then the whisper again, now right beside my ear. She wore your skin once. My heart was doing gymnastics in my chest. I reached for my phone, still in my pocket. No signal, no flashlight, just that eerie glow from the mirrors, as if they were lit from behind. I turned toward the nearest one, and saw something moving in it. Not the kid, not me. A woman, naked, pale, soaked in blood, holding what looked like a plastic Halloween mask, but the skin was real. There were eyelashes on it, and lips. She pressed the face to her own, like she was trying it on. When it didn't fit, she ripped it in half and screamed, but only in the reflection. No sound in the room, just a silent, wide-mouthed howl that shook the glass. She saw me, and smiled, and then she ran, from inside the mirror, at me. I turned and bolted up the stairs, not stopping until I slammed the basement door behind me. I looked back once. The door wasn't there anymore, just a blank stretch of hallway wall. No handle, no frame, nothing. I stood there, heaving, drenched in sweat. My hands were shaking so bad I dropped my phone. When I picked it up, all the photos in my camera roll had been replaced with screenshots of me inside the house. Photos I didn't take. Some from angles above me, some from right behind my ear. The timestamps were seconds ago. That's when I heard the doorbell. I nearly pissed myself. I crept to the peephole. Outside, under the porch light, stood two people. Not the parents. Police. Or, kind of. They wore dark uniforms. No badges, no name tags. One was a woman with a weirdly perfect bob haircut. The other was a tall man, bald, skin like wax. They didn't blink, just stared straight at the door. The woman spoke, and I could hear her through the walls. "Do not let him outside. We are containment." She smiled, and every tooth was a perfect square. The man leaned forward, placed a note under the door, and they both turned in sync and walked away, without moving their legs, like they were on wheels. I picked up the note. "We didn't say you could leave." Suddenly, every window slammed shut at once. The thermostat on the wall spun itself to 99 degrees, and from the living room, I heard the kid laughing, not childlike giggling. No, a deep, echoing, wrong laugh. I stepped into the room. He was hovering a foot above the ground, arms limp, head tilted backwards like his neck was broken. His mouth was wide open, and inside wasn't a throat. It was another face. My face. Eyes open, mouth whispering, "Stay awake." And then the power cut, pitch black, and something began crawling down the hallway toward me. Click, click, click. To be continued. Click, click, click. It wasn't footsteps. Not really. Too slow, too sharp, like claws on tile. But it was inside the house, and it was moving toward me. Deliberate, measured, like it knew I wasn't going anywhere. I stood frozen in the living room, every nerve screaming at me to hide, to run, to do something, but my legs weren't listening. The air had this weight to it now, thick, greasy, like the breath of something ancient and wrong, exhaling directly into my skin. Then I saw it, crawling across the wall, upside down, body contorted like a broken spider. But it wasn't the kid. It was someone else. Or, it used to be. Female, wearing what looked like a nurse's uniform, but shredded, soaked in black sludge that dripped in slow globs from the ceiling as she crawled. Her limbs were cracked in the middle, like someone had snapped her bones backward and taped them in place. Her face, God, her face wasn't even a face. It was a patchwork, different skin tones, stitched together like some nightmare taxidermy project. One eye was too high, the other sewn shut with safety pins. The mouth was a zipper, and it twitched like she was trying to speak, but couldn't. Every few seconds, it would unzip halfway, and this gurgling cough would spray out something thick and red onto the floor. When she saw me, she smiled, or tried to. The zipper slid all the way down, and a tongue fell out. Not hers. It was someone else's tongue, tattooed. I saw part of a Starbucks logo on it. She scuttled toward me. Fast. I turned and ran, down the hallway, toward the stairs. But the stairs weren't stairs anymore. Each step was now a set of teeth. Wooden molars. Gums made of pulsing carpet. And when I stepped onto the first one, it bit down. Hard. I screamed and yanked my foot back. The sole of my shoe stayed behind, wedged between molars. Blood dripped up the banister, not down, defying gravity, like the whole house was coming unstitched. I stumbled backward into the hallway and slammed the door to what I thought was the bathroom. It wasn't. The lights inside were red. There were IV bags hanging from the ceiling like jellyfish, each filled with something thick and amber-colored. viscous. One was connected to a mannequin sitting in the bathtub. Except, it wasn't a mannequin. It blinked. A man. No arms, no legs, no eyelids. Tubes where his ears should be. Skin smooth like a doll, except for his chest, which had been opened like a cabinet. Ribs peeled outward like drawers, filled with photos of people. Faces, screaming, laughing, sleeping, dead. I saw mine, front and center, pinned to the man's sternum with a rusty sewing needle. The eyes in my photo had been scratched out. I backed out slowly and shut the door. Click, click, click. Behind me again. That nurse thing hadn't left. It was just waiting. She lunged at me, and I slammed the hallway closet door open to shield myself. The thing inside wasn't coats. It was bodies, standing, dozens of them, pressed shoulder to shoulder, completely naked, eyes sewn shut with black thread, each of them breathing softly, in unison, no mouths, just flesh, and right at the front, my roommate, Evan. I hadn't told anyone where I was going, but there he was, eyes sealed, head twitching, chest rising with every breath, but his skin, it was off, pale, almost transparent. His stomach was split down the middle like a zipper, and hanging out of it, a baby monitor, still crackling softly. I reached for it. It hissed, then screamed in my voice, "Don't turn around!" But I did, because I'm an idiot. The kid was there again, standing right behind me, arms at his sides, eyes now entirely white, not glowing, just wrong, pupils erased like chalk off a blackboard. He reached up slowly, touched the side of my face, and whispered, "You've been here before." I tried to pull away, but my legs locked, and then the walls of the closet began to close in, like a shrinking coffin. The bodies didn't react, didn't move, but I swear I could hear thoughts in my head that weren't mine. Phrases, voices, all clashing. Cut deeper next time. He won't wake up unless you scream. She left the drawer under the sink. They're still hungry. I screamed and shoved Evan's body aside. He fell like paper, hollow, like his bones had been removed. I ran back into the hallway, limping now, foot soaked in blood and carpet fuzz. My phone was gone. The plastic on the furniture was gone too, melted into the floor, forming patterns, like veins, leading towards the kitchen. I followed. Something smelled like burnt hair and pennies. The fridge was open. Inside wasn't food. It was a face, pressed to the glass shelf, smiling, frozen, eyes open, lips stitched into a grin, teeth jammed into the ice tray. Someone had frozen a human head and decorated it like cake. Frosting smeared around the eyelids, sprinkles in the nostrils. Its eyes blinked, and it whispered, "The parents are almost home." Then the house screamed. Not a person. The house. Every wall pulsing, every light bulb bursting one by one, like popping zits. The floor began to ripple, wooden boards warping and folding like waves. I dropped to my knees, crawled into the pantry, shut the door, and curled into a ball, shaking. That's when I saw it. Written in Sharpie on the inside of the pantry door, scribbled over and over again, "If he doesn't blink, you're still dreaming. If he doesn't blink, you're still dreaming. If he doesn't blink, you're still dreaming." The handle began to turn, slow, agonizing, metal squealing, and then a voice, soft, maternal, loving, whispered through the keyhole, "Dinner's ready, sweetie. Wear your skin." I didn't open the pantry door. I couldn't, because the handle didn't stop turning. It kept going, circling, metal groaning, over and over, faster and faster, until the bolt inside the door snapped and the whole thing blew open like someone had kicked it from the other side. But no one was there. Just the hallway. Empty. Except now, the walls were bleeding, not dripping, pulsing. Veins spiderwebbed through the drywall, thick and blue and bulging, thudding like a heartbeat. Something behind them was alive and pissed off. The floor was warm, like body temperature. I stepped out, shaking, limping, ears ringing, and that's when I realized the house was breathing. I could hear it. Every window exhaling mist onto the glass. Every pipe moaning like it was clogged with lungs. The ceiling above me cracked like bone, and the chandelier that had once been classy and modern was now hanging from something that looked suspiciously like a spinal cord. I turned left, back to the living room. The TV was on again. No sound, just a still image of me, sleeping, in my bed, my real bed, back home. I recognized the posters on the wall, the cracked iPhone charger on the nightstand, the water bottle I always forgot to refill. But I was in the bed, sleeping, and something was standing over me, a shape, long, thin, bent at the middle. Its hand was on my chest, its fingers under the skin. I blinked, and the image changed. Now I was awake in bed, eyes open, mouth screaming, but there was no face anymore, just a blank canvas of flesh. And next to me, lying in bed like a lover, was the kid, smiling, eyes white, not blinking. I backed away, fast, almost fell over the coffee table, which wasn't a table anymore. It was glass. Inside it, under the surface, was a man, skinned, muscle and tendons twitching like they were alive. His face had been peeled off and replaced with paper, a child's drawing, taped to the meat. The drawing was labeled, "Dad!" Blood started bubbling from the corner of the table, like carbonation. I ran, straight to the front door. I grabbed the knob, scorching hot. I turned it anyway. The lock was gone, just a hole. Something on the other side breathing directly through it. I looked through, and I saw my mother, standing outside, hair wet, pajamas soaked. She looked like she'd just crawled out of a flooded basement, except her eyes weren't hers. They were the same two wide, glassy black eyes the boy had. She didn't knock. She just mouthed something over and over. "You let it in!" I screamed and threw myself backward, into the dining room. There was a dinner set, 3 plates, 3 glasses, silverware perfectly arranged. On each plate, something human, but it wasn't a full body. It was pieces, neatly cut fingers laid out like asparagus, an eyeball balanced on top of mashed potatoes, a heart still twitching in the middle of a steak knife spiral. The napkins were skin, mine. I recognized the birthmark, and all 3 chairs were occupied by versions of me, one smiling, one crying, one completely still, face sunken like he drowned in a lake 100 years ago. They all looked up at the same time and said, in perfect sync, "You missed dinner." And then they laughed. Not normal laughter. It started slow, breathy, broken, then turned into animal shrieks. One slammed his head on the plate until his nose caved in. The other tore off his own ear and fed it to the still heart. The crying one didn't stop sobbing, but his tears were teeth, dozens of tiny white teeth sliding down his cheeks and clattering to the floor like hail. I ran again. Didn't know where I was going, just ran. Every hallway looked the same now. Same carpet, same wallpaper, except the photos were changing. Fast, flashing like strobe lights. Each frame showed a different version of me, dying, hung, burned, suffocated with a pillow, buried alive. I turned the corner and found a door. It said, You're not ready to remember. I opened it anyway. Inside was a nursery, baby blue wallpaper, a mobile spinning lazily overhead, one crib. Inside the crib, an adult man, crying. Me, bald, pale, covered in scars, strapped to the mattress with barbed wire. Every time he breathed, he coughed up sewing needles. His eyes were gone, replaced with buttons, one black, one red. He looked straight at me, somehow, and gurgled, "It grows inside you when you lie." And then he split down the middle, not with a knife, from inside, like something had hatched, and what came out was the kid, not as I'd seen him before. This time, he was older, tall, his jaw dislocated, and his mouth hung open so wide his ribs cracked to accommodate it. His skin peeled off like wet wallpaper, revealing dozens of other faces underneath. All children, all crying, all trapped beneath his. They reached toward me, screaming in their voices layered, "You took the job. You said yes. You're part of him now." I slammed the door. Behind me, I heard footsteps. I turned and saw a figure running toward me at full speed. But it wasn't a person. It was a thing wearing my body like a mascot suit. It grinned, and right before it reached me, it burst into moths. Thousands. Their wings made no sound, and when they landed on me, they bit. Tiny bites. Everywhere. My face, my arms, my neck. I dropped to the ground, rolling, screaming, trying to swat them away. But when I looked up, I was outside, on the front lawn, the house gone. Behind me, just a black field, endless. The sky was flickering like a broken TV, and in the distance, I saw McDonald's, perfectly lit, full of people, laughing, normal. I limped toward it, but the closer I got, the more I realized no one was blinking, not a single person. They sat in booths, ate burgers, sipped Coke through empty straws, eyes wide, locked on me. And through the drive-through speaker, I heard the boy's voice. "Your shift's not over." The asphalt opened beneath my feet, swallowed me whole. I didn't fall into hell. I fell into silence. The asphalt cracked open and swallowed me like an egg slipping through fingers. And then, nothing. No gravity, no screaming wind, just stillness, like falling through a pause in a sentence no one ever finished. Then I landed, not on ground, on teeth, thousands of them, laid flat, perfectly polished, like a floor made from molars and incisors. They clicked beneath me as I moved, each one whispering softly, breathless, like a chorus of things trying to remember how to scream. Ahead of me, a hallway, stretching forever, not straight, winding, spiraling like a snail's shell. The walls were meat, beating, raw, pulsing, stitched with veins that throbbed under translucent skin. The ceiling dripped something thick and black, reeking of plastic and copper. It burned when it touched my skin. I walked anyway. What else could I do? Every 10 feet, a door. Every door, slightly open. Every room behind them, wrong. One held a mirror that reflected every version of me that had ever died in my dreams. Another, a hospital room filled with rows of cribs. Except inside the cribs weren't babies. They were hands, severed, still twitching, grasping at the air like they were looking for the bodies that left them behind. I opened one door and saw a birthday party. Balloons, a cake, paper hats. Except the guests were mannequins, all dressed like people I'd known in childhood. Teachers, friends, dead relatives, and they all had my mouth sewn into their faces, my lips, my voice, saying my name in unison, again and again and again. I ran. The hallway didn't end. The walls started to bend inward, closing, pressing, breathing on me. The heartbeat in the walls, getting faster. No, not one beat. Multiple. Like something massive was waking up beneath the structure. Eventually, I collapsed. Blood in my shoes. My nose bleeding backwards. That's when I heard the knock. Just a soft knock. Right beside me. On the wall. Then a second knock. From inside my own head. I turned, and the wall peeled open like wet cardboard. Behind it, a room. White. Surgical. At the center, a glass cube. Inside the cube, him. The boy. Except not boy now. Stretched, hollowed, puppet-like. Eyes gone. Face erased. His skin carved with words. Contracts. Pages of terms and conditions. Etched in with a scalpel. From his scalp to his toes. I could read them. Every paragraph. They were all signed. By me. Dozens of signatures. Dates I didn't remember. Emails I never used. One clause repeated. Do not let him leave. The cube cracked. One long line down the center. A hand pushed through. My hand. Rotting. Wrong. Pulling something behind it. Another me. But this one wasn't breathing. A dead-eyed clone. Stitched up the middle. Leaking worms from the chest cavity. Wearing the clothes I'd worn that night. Holding a phone. He handed it to me. The screen glowed. Live feed. My apartment. Me. Asleep. But something standing over me again. This time not the boy. Myself. Older. Paler. Eyes like polished coins. Watching. Smiling. I whispered, "What do you want?" The screen turned black, and then a message appeared. "You already gave it. We only came to collect." The glass shattered. The boy thing stepped forward, dragging a massive sheet of flesh behind him like a cape. Faces embedded in it like trapped souls. Some crying, some asleep, all twitching. He spoke with every voice I've ever heard. "You never left. You never will." And then I woke up, in the house, back in the living room, sunlight through the windows, a note on the coffee table, typed, crisp, clean. "Congratulations. Task complete. Payment sent. Caregiver services." I blinked, looked around. Empty. The TV was off. The couch, spotless. No blood. No boy. My phone was back in my pocket. Full signal. I staggered outside. My car was still in the driveway. I drove. Back to the border. No one stopped me. No one looked at me. When I got home, my Venmo had $3,000 and a single transaction note. "For your face." That was 3 months ago. I thought it was over, but now it's happening again. Little things. My mirrors lag when I walk past them. I don't blink when I sleep. Every photo of me on my phone is now a still from the house. People don't remember my name. My neighbor called me Evan. My old professor said, "You dropped this, Owen." My landlord wrote Jeremy on my rent check. None of those are me. I don't think I exist anymore the way I used to. And just now, I got another message from a new random account. No profile picture, no bio, just 5 words. He still hasn't blinked yet. And a photo of me, standing outside my own apartment window, smiling. I took a dark web job to hunt after government mistakes. Something is hitting in Chernobyl. Alright, so before I even get into this, let me make something very clear. I'm not some hacker prodigy. I'm not anonymous. I don't sit in my mom's basement surrounded by 7 monitors and RGB lights, decoding Bitcoin blockchains while eating Hot Pockets. I'm just a guy. A regular dude who made a really bad decision one night when I was broke, bored, and about 3 White Claws deep. It started in early 2023. I had just gotten laid off from my job at a tech startup in Austin. You know the type. Exposed brick walls, kombucha on tap, daily Slack pings about wellness check-ins, and then poof, out of nowhere, the company just ceased to exist. Classic pivot, as they called it in the press release. 1 minute, I'm making a modest salary running QA. The next, I'm eating Sam's Club ramen and scrolling job boards until my thumbs hurt. One night, I'm doom scrolling Reddit and flipping between TikTok rabbit holes and true crime YouTube channels. I'm watching some random "here's my story" animation about a girl who accidentally joined a cult through a group chat. I thought it was fake as hell, until later, when I realized how real the internet can get. Anyway, I end up on this thread in a semi-dead sub called r/deadclicks. It's full of these weird posts, people talking about broken links leading to dead parts of the deep web. Some were boring, some looked fake, but one caught my eye. It was simple, no upvotes, no comments, just a title. Looking for freelance retrieval operatives. Must be discreet, high pay, deep web only. I don't know what possessed me, but I clicked it. The post led to a pastebin link, which redirected to a Tor address. My laptop fan instantly kicked on like a jet engine. I knew I shouldn't keep going. My screen turned black for a second, then flashed white. No browser interface, just a simple console-looking screen with text. This is Node A7. Welcome. Your skills are needed. We retrieve mistakes. Do you accept the interview? Dumbass me, feeling adventurous and thinking it was some LARPing ARG thing, typed, yes. That's when everything got real. Immediately, I get a message on Signal. Not WhatsApp, not Telegram. Signal, like the kind of stuff whistleblowers use. The number was hidden, naturally, but the message was straightforward. Congratulations, you passed the first test. Be ready to travel. Destination instructions will follow. Bring nothing traceable. Dress normal. No questions. I laughed at first. Legit laughed out loud in my crappy apartment, thinking, okay, someone's playing the long game on this creepy ARG. The next day, I get a manila envelope slid under my door. I live on the 4th floor of a secure building. No cameras saw anyone. Inside the envelope was a single sheet of paper. McDonald's, Kyiv. Table 17, 8 p.m. Thursday. Wear black. Wait. And stapled to it, a freaking one-way ticket to Ukraine. I almost threw it all in the trash. I don't even have a passport. But when I checked my email, somehow I did. Someone applied, processed, and confirmed a passport for me. With my photo. Everything was correct. Government stamped. That's when the anxiety set in. I called the US Passport Agency, gave the number listed, and the woman on the line says, "Yes, Mr. Walker, you're scheduled for pickup at the embassy in Kyiv. Safe travels." She knew my name. At that point, I was spiraling. This wasn't a game. This wasn't a Reddit prank or a YouTube creepypasta. This was real, and somebody with a lot of access had decided I was going to Kyiv, whether I liked it or not. I almost bailed, but here's the thing. Something about it hooked me. The mystery, the absurdity, the idea that maybe I'd end up on some Vice documentary about deep web freelancers saving the world. So, yeah, I went. Landed at Borispil Airport a day early, just to get my bearings. Booked a room at a hostel under the fake name from my passport. Jared Walker, apparently. I watched TikToks from the window, drank bad vending machine coffee, tried not to freak out. Everything about the city felt weird, off, not in a war zone kind of way. More like, I don't know, like the ground remembered something. Thursday came. I put on my black hoodie and jeans, walked to the McDonald's across from the old Central Library. Table 17 was near the window. I sat, waited. 5 minutes passed, then 10. Right when I was about to leave, this woman sat down across from me. She looked totally normal. Early 30s, Eastern European, hair pulled back, Adidas track jacket. She didn't say anything for like a full minute. Then she pushed a phone across the table. No case, no logo, just a matte black phone with no buttons. "Push play," she said in a thick accent. So I did. The screen flickered, then showed grainy drone footage of what I realized was the Chernobyl exclusion zone. I'd recognize that crumbling Ferris wheel anywhere. The footage zoomed in. There were things, shapes, moving in patterns that made no biological sense. Long arms, glitchy flickers. A few frames showed them looking up at the drone, and then a black screen. Words in white. Category Delta Red, containment breach. Subject Vela 9. The woman stood. "You're going in. You will not speak of this. The job is 3 days. You return, you're paid. You speak, you vanish." She left without finishing her fries, and I just sat there, under the buzzing fluorescent lights of a goddamn McDonald's in Eastern Europe, realizing I had just signed on to hunt something that the government didn't want the world to know existed. That was a week ago. I leave for Chernobyl tomorrow. I don't think I'm coming back, but if I do, and you're reading this, stay away from the dead zones. Something still lives in them. I didn't sleep the night before we left, not because I was scared, because the air in my room wasn't right. You ever feel a silence so dense, it sounds like it's pressing in on your ears, like there's something in the walls, just waiting for your heart rate to slow before it reaches through the drywall and rips. That kind of silence. At 3:17 a.m., my phone buzzed once. The black one. The unbranded thing the woman gave me. It didn't vibrate or ring again. Just one buzz. When I picked it up, it lit up with a single phrase. "Vehicle inbound. Don't speak." I left everything behind. My own phone, wallet, ID. Didn't even take my charger. Outside, a black SUV idled with the windows darkened. The man driving didn't look at me. He wore a tactical vest and chewed on sunflower seeds like it was just another Wednesday. I got in, said nothing. We drove north out of Kiev, past the checkpoint that marked the exclusion zone. No one stopped us. No paperwork was shown. The soldiers at the barrier didn't look inside the car. They didn't want to. By 6 a.m., we were deep into the zone, where the roads start to crack and the trees don't grow right anymore. Their trunks split at the base like open wounds. Crows flew in circles, but never landed. We arrived at what looked like a half-collapsed Soviet operations building. Maybe an old weather station. Inside was a team already prepping. They didn't speak to me. Not even once. They called themselves the Cleaners. Each one wore matching gear. No names, just colored symbols etched onto their shoulder plates. Blue, red, yellow, green. One of them, blue, handed me a breathing unit. Looked like a modified gas mask with an internal HUD and a small silver case the size of a book. "Tracer, drop it if it gets too close," he muttered. Then he walked away. It. What the fuck was it? I opened the case. Inside was a bone-white metal disc with 9 slits in a spiral pattern and something like dried blood along the edges. The material was ice cold to the touch. At 0700, we moved. The sky had gone that greasy shade of gray where it feels like the clouds are watching you. Chernobyl was barely visible through the haze. Torn buildings swallowed in moss and concrete rot, as if time itself had puked on the whole city and just left it to bake. Pripyat was silent. No birds, no wind. Our boots crunched through shattered glass and collapsed drywall as we made our way to the reactor complex, specifically Duga 2, the radar array they never talk about in tours, the one behind the Ferris wheel, the one built for something else. The closer we got, the more my body itched, like my nerves knew something my mind didn't. And then we saw it. Near the edge of the overgrown courtyard stood a tunnel entrance, not marked on any map. Fresh scorch marks painted the surrounding trees. A deer, no, what used to be a deer, was hanging from a pipe by its ribcage, eyes gone, antlers twisted backwards into its own skull. None of the cleaners reacted. Inside the tunnel, the walls were slick, not with water, no. Something clear and oily ran down them, glowing faintly blue when our lights hit. Phase 1 breach, level beta, Red said into his comms. My mask flickered. Something crackled through my headset. Voices, layered over each other, speaking backward. They keep digging. They keep digging. We went deeper. I counted 64 steps before the walls changed. Tiles gave way to bare concrete, then to something else, something organic. The walls began to breathe. The HUD on my mask began glitching. It showed false readings. Temp spikes of 198 degrees Fahrenheit. Radiation at 0, then at 999. Then a red message across the screen. Warning, observer detected. That's when the screaming started. Not ours. From below, hundreds of voices, screaming like they'd just seen their families torn apart. Some in Russian, some in English. One in a language I swear didn't exist. Green began to seize. No warning. Just dropped to the ground and started convulsing like his bones were trying to escape his skin. Blood poured from under his helmet in thick rivulets. We tried to hold him down, but the second we touched him, he exploded. No exaggeration. Like a popped balloon. Chunks of him painted the walls. His torso landed face up, eyes still blinking, mouth opening and closing like he wanted to say something before his tongue slid out and crawled down a drain. I threw up inside my mask. It recirculated. No one else flinched. Vela 9 is aware, Red whispered. And then I saw it. At the end of the hall, a shape. At first, I thought it was a person, but it was too tall, too thin, like someone had stretched a human form vertically and peeled it. Skin hung from its limbs, like sheets of wet paper. Eyes lined its arms, blinking in perfect sync. But the worst part, it was smiling, not with its mouth, with every inch of it. My mask began to beep, loudly, over and over. The cleaners opened fire, silent, efficient, like they'd done it before. Bullets didn't do a thing. They just passed through it, like it was smoke, like it wasn't there. Then it moved. No footsteps, no warning. 1 second, it was at the end of the tunnel. The next, Blue's head was gone. Just gone. Not severed. Erased. Like someone had used Photoshop on reality. His body stayed standing for 2 seconds before crumpling. Red screamed. First time I saw any emotion from him. He pulled something from his belt, a spike wrapped in copper wire, and jammed it into his own thigh. He convulsed, then stood, glassy-eyed, and said, "Protocol Vela, scatter." Then he ran into the dark. Yellow followed. I was alone. The thing turned toward me, slowly, like it was savoring the moment. I remembered the silver disc, tore it from my belt, threw it as hard as I could. It screamed, not a loud one, not a human one. It was like a chorus of babies crying through radio static. It shrieked and folded in on itself. blinking out of visibility for a split second, long enough for me to run. I don't remember escaping the tunnel. All I remember is waking up 12 hours later on the roof of the same building we left from, with my mask shattered and dried blood across my chest. A new envelope sat on my lap. Inside, payment complete. You are free to leave. Do not return. And under that, a photograph. Me, standing in front of the reactor, smiling, but I don't remember smiling. And behind me, a hand, long, skinless, wrapped around my neck, like it never left, like it came back with me. I didn't take a flight back. I came home in a crate, literally, shoved into a steel container labeled hazardous organic and dropped in a cargo yard in New Jersey. No customs, no paperwork, no record I ever entered or exited Ukraine. My body felt broken in places I didn't know could break. My brain, worse. I remember flashes, a train station, the sound of a baby crying in an empty parking garage, a man in a white coat whispering, "You are not the first vessel," and then black. My apartment was exactly how I left it, except every photo on my wall had been turned face down, even the ones in drawers, even the ones I'd posted on Instagram years ago, deleted, gone, all of them, like something didn't want to be seen. I started bleeding from my nose every morning at 3:09 a.m. sharp, every single day. My Apple Watch logged my sleep as unknown movement, 6.2 hours, elevated heart rate, 212 beats per minute, which is medically impossible unless you're on fire. I tried to forget, tried to pretend it was over, but a week later, the black phone lit up again. One word, observe. Then my lights went out. All of them, at once. Even the hallway, even the damn exit signs in my building. I looked outside. Every building in my street had gone dark. Dead light. The only thing still on, my laptop. I hadn't touched it since the trip. I'd left it powered off, unplugged, but now it glowed blue. Just a single video file on the desktop labeled Vela_home_feed.move. I should have shut it, should have burned it, but I opened it. The footage showed my own bedroom, filmed from the ceiling. The timestamp read 3:09 a.m. from last night. I was sleeping, tossing violently, scratching at my chest like something was trying to crawl out. And then, it entered frame, the thing from the tunnel, except it looked more human now. My skin crawled. It had my face, almost, just a little, off, lips too thin, eyes too wide, no whites, only black. It stood over my sleeping body for 26 minutes, watching, breathing. Then it leaned down, put its mouth over my ear, and whispered something. The audio was garbled. I tried slowing it down, reversing it, boosting it with audacity. I wish I hadn't, because when I finally cleaned it up, it was a child's voice saying, "You brought me home. Now I'm hungry. I haven't slept since." But it gets worse. I started seeing things around the city. Not monsters, not shadows. People, twisted into shapes that didn't make sense. I saw a woman at the Starbucks on 3rd Street, with hands where her teeth should have been. She smiled at me, picked up her drink with her eye socket. The barista didn't notice. I saw a toddler at Target pointing at the ceiling, laughing at nothing, until his mouth opened vertically from forehead to chin and started whispering coordinates. I memorized them. They led to a blank square in Nevada, government land. Vela 9 wasn't the only one. There are others. Some came back in people. Some are people. I saw a bar fight where a guy got stabbed, and instead of bleeding, he howled like a dial-up modem and disintegrated into dust that crawled into the floorboards. I saw a pigeon fly into a window, explode, and reform in reverse, like the footage was playing backward. Then it looked at me and blinked sideways. And every time I noticed, the phone buzzed. Observe. Do not interfere. Then the headaches started. Not normal headaches. Like something underneath my skull was waking up. I'd stand in front of the mirror and swear I could see something moving behind my eyes. Not floaters. Crawlers. My reflection began to lag behind me. I shaved one morning and watched myself smile 2 seconds after I did. That night, I took a knife to my shoulder. Had to know if I was still me. I cut deep. The blood came out black. It steamed. It smelled like ozone and burnt sugar. But I was still breathing, still conscious. And then the doorbell rang. 2:16 a.m. No one should have known I was here. No one ever rings the bell. I checked the peephole. Nothing. But when I opened the door, there was a package, wrapped in wax paper, no label. Inside, a tooth, human, molar, carved with a message on the root. You're shedding. My skin hasn't stopped peeling since. Whole chunks, like a snake molting. Underneath, something paler is growing, something with less texture. I ran into a mirror the other day and didn't leave a reflection, not even a smudge. The worst part, I don't think I care anymore. Something's changing. It's still inside me. I hear it in the pipes, in the white noise of my air purifier, in the TSA pre-check announcement at the airport last week. I blink and see words etched in places no one else does. Your signal is loud. They are listening. I've started drawing the shape I saw in the tunnel. Vela 9. My hands do it without me thinking. On walls, on receipts, on my own chest. The other day, I went to wash my hands at a McDonald's off I-95 and saw the symbol scratched into the mirror with the tip of a finger. And when I left, a girl in the play place looked at me through the mesh netting and mouthed, "We all came back different." No one noticed. No one ever does. You don't understand. This isn't a story. It's a transmission. The Vela-class organisms are real. They live in dead places, abandoned reactors, forgotten military sites, dark web nodes that haven't been mapped in years. Some are made of sound, some of heat, some of memory, and some are looking for hosts, just like me, just like you. I lost my name 3 days ago, not metaphorically. It's gone, deleted, scraped from bank records, birth certificates, school logs, Reddit posts, texts, like someone took a scalpel and carved every instance of me out of the internet with surgical precision. I checked old friends' phones. My number? Unknown contact. My messages? Blank bubbles. No name. No profile. FaceTime calls show a face they don't recognize. And my voice? Sounds wrong to them. They say it echoes. Not an acoustic echo. A memory echo. Like they remember hearing me say something I didn't say yet. The girl I dated back in college called me after 10 years of silence. She was crying. Said she had a dream about me walking through a burning field of hands, whispering her name backwards. Said I didn't have eyes. Said the wind was screaming in a child's voice. She hung up before I could answer. That night, I found her obituary online, published 48 hours before the call. I had to go back to where it started, back to the zone. I used a fake name this time, fake passport, burner phone, but it didn't matter. The moment I touched Ukrainian soil, the air changed, felt thicker, full of breath. At the checkpoint, a soldier pulled me aside. No questions, no accusations, just looked me in the face and said, "You're already inside." Then let me go. I didn't bring gear, didn't bring backup. Didn't need it. Vela doesn't want metal. It wants mind. By the time I reached the edge of Pripyat, I realized the sun hadn't risen once since I arrived. The sky was stuck at this impossible shade between twilight and dream. Everything cast two shadows. I followed the coordinates, burned into the inside of my eyelids. Literally. Every time I blinked, numbers danced across the black. 47 degrees, 30 minutes, 17 seconds north. 30 degrees, 32 minutes, 45 seconds east. No map recognizes them, but my feet did. They took me to a part of the zone I swear didn't exist last time. A forest of scaffolding and antenna towers, each one vibrating at frequencies too low to hear, but deep enough to shake my spine. The trees bled sap that smelled like burnt hair and vinegar. Birds hovered, frozen mid-air, wings twitching like old VHS footage, paused and re-looped. I found a staircase that led downward, in the middle of the woods, just a rusted iron staircase, spiraling straight into the ground, surrounded by nothing but dead wind and trees weeping white. I climbed for hours, I think. There was no bottom. Time stopped sinking to my watch. My body still moved, but my soul lagged behind. At some point, the metal steps turned to bone. I didn't notice until I stepped and heard a crunch. Looked down. Teeth. The entire staircase was built from human teeth. Incisors, molars, canines, some still with roots, some with gum still attached, and they were chewing. Slow, rhythmic, grinding like 1,000 grandmothers whispering prayers with no gods left to hear them. At the bottom, there was a door. Not a real one. A door shaped into the air, like a fold in reality, like someone pinched the air and unzipped it. I walked through and entered the garden. I named it that. I don't know what it really is. Imagine a valley underground, stretching farther than your eyes can go, lit by a sky that isn't a sky, but a pulsating sheet of skin stretched between monolithic towers that breathe. The ground is alive. Every step felt like walking on muscle and nerves, hot and pulsing. I could feel things watching from beneath, poking at my soles, testing. There were statues, thousands, but not stone. Frozen people. Some were mid-scream, some mid-prayer. One woman looked like she was laughing so hard her jaw snapped in half and kept stretching. One old man had claws dug into his own stomach, like he was trying to pull something out. I passed a child, barefoot, holding a stuffed rabbit, her mouth sewn shut with copper wire. As I walked by, she turned and looked through me, not at me, through, and whispered into my brain without opening her mouth. He planted us. That's when I saw the centerpiece, a cathedral, built upside down, hanging from the night sky like a massive tumor made of organ pipes, stained glass, and meat. The glass showed scenes from my life, but wrong. Me holding hands with someone I've never met. Me tearing my own chest open with a smile. Me burning alive while something inside my mouth laughed with a voice I didn't own. Inside the cathedral, the pews were made of spines. They creaked when I stepped between them. And at the altar, a mirror, just a tall standing mirror, covered in flies. I didn't want to look, but I had to. My reflection was wrong. It was smiling. It was crying black sludge. Its mouth opened, but my real one didn't. It whispered, "You're fertile now." Then it reached out of the glass and touched me. The sensation was atrocious. Not pain, not cold, but like every orgasm and every death I've ever had was shoved down my throat at once and came back out as a scream that only echoed inward. I woke up above ground, lying in the middle of a school gym in Pripyat. My shirt was gone. Etched across my chest, in raw, infected scars, were coordinates. New ones. Etched, not cut. Grown. They pulse under my skin. Sometimes they bleed when I lie. And now, I see them everywhere. Carved into subway seats. Hidden in captions under TikToks that disappear after one view. Whispered by AI voices in voiceovers that weren't there before. Graffiti on a Starbucks wall in New York that wasn't there yesterday. Fertile host detected. I'm not alone. There are others. They come to me now. In dreams, sometimes physically. Men and women who've seen the garden, who've been touched. They speak in binary. Morse. Rhymes. One woman handed me her tongue in a Ziploc bag and said, "He won't let me speak anymore, but he likes yours." I still hear her laughing. My ears bleed now, consistently, at 3:09, every night, and it's not blood anymore. It's thick, sludgy, has a heartbeat. It tries to crawl back in if I let it hit the sink. One drop jumped. I keep it in a jar now. It taps in threes, like it's asking for something. I haven't opened the jar, yet. But I'm going back to the garden. It's calling me again. This time, I think I'll be staying. I no longer dream. Dreaming is for minds that sleep. I don't. I exist in constant waking. Half reality, half memory, full infection. The garden was not the end. It was a door. It fed me, and I let it. The final coordinates pulsing in my chest like cancerous veins led me to a bunker beneath an unlisted island near Murmansk, covered in satellite blackouts. A place no map ever marked, no GPS ever confirms. But I saw it. I felt it humming across the ocean, pulsing inside tectonic plates like a heartbeat no one listens to anymore. The locals called it Ostrov Nima, Island of Silence. They never sail near it, not even close. When I chartered a boat, the captain asked for my name. I said nothing. He nodded. "You're already dead, then." The sky blackened as we approached. Birds fell out of the air mid-flight. Fish surfaced belly up, like something under the waves had spoken in a language they weren't supposed to hear. The island greeted us with a scream, not wind, a scream, louder than a siren, lower than bone, vibrating through the water, through the boat, through my skull. The captain bled from his eyes, didn't scream, didn't panic, just looked at me and said, "She's not asleep anymore." Then he stepped off the boat, into the sea, and sank. Didn't struggle, didn't float, just vanished beneath the waves, like the ocean owed him. The moment I stepped onto that shore, my body convulsed, not from cold, from recognition. Every cell, every vein, every nerve ending in my body knew this place, knew it before I was born. This island wasn't made by nature, it was grown from her. Vila wasn't a creature, not a being. She's a construct, a womb, a failure left behind after they tried to bury what couldn't die. And this was her cradle. The island breathed, literally. The cliffs moved like lungs, exhaling fog that carried laughter, not audible, but in my bones. I found the hatch buried beneath a stone altar. It opened on its own. Inside, an endless stairwell made of spines stacked vertically. Human, animal, unknown. The walls were soft, like flesh under tension. I walked for hours, sometimes backward, sometimes sideways. Time bled. I watched myself walk above me, upside down, on the ceiling. We didn't acknowledge each other. We were both prey. The final chamber was circular, the size of a football stadium, but it was not a chamber. It was a womb, lined with cocoons, thousands of them, each one transparent, each one showing a version of me, one with no mouth, one covered in wires, one pregnant with something scratching inside her belly, one rotting but still blinking, one holding a knife and smiling at me as if waiting. In the center was her, not Vela 9, the root, the first. She had no body, only shape, a mass of mouths and eyes and limbs, forming and dissolving every second. She spoke through the air, not in sound, but in memory. I remembered her voice before she ever spoke. You were born in me, birthed from ash, carved by silence. You walked the world so I could taste it. You are not my son. You are not my child. You are my seed. She lifted me, without touching, without effort. Every bone in my body snapped outward like branches growing in reverse. Ligaments turned to thread. Eyes popped, reforming into compound lenses that see heat, time, and intention. She tore off my skin in layers. Each one screamed as it was peeled. One screamed, "Help me." Another screamed, "Finally." The last one just giggled. She fed them to the others. My body pulsed with light that didn't illuminate. It devoured. Everything I was burned into her altar, and what grew in its place. Not me, not even human. She whispered the final command. Find them, lead them, hollow them, feed them. And then I woke up in a hospital in Minnesota, completely intact. No wounds, no records. My name was back. Everyone acted like nothing happened, except for one nurse. She handed me a phone. Black, featureless, buzzed once. Message. Phase complete. You are now a breacher. I looked in the mirror. My reflection blinked wrong. My mouth smiled first, then my eyes, then my shadow. There's a McDonald's near my apartment. I go there a lot now. I watch people. I listen for wrongness. Sometimes I see flickers in their reflections, twitches that aren't them. I mock them. I follow them. I observe. Because that's what I am now. Not a hunter, not prey, not even a man. I'm a hole, a tear in the skin of the world. And through me, Vela feeds. She's hungry. Always. And I am never full. If you're reading this, it's too late. You looked into the mirror too long. She knows you now. I took a dark web job, maintaining an undersea cable in the Pacific Ocean. I got one strange rule. Never dive when you hear knocking. What's up, guys? I don't even know where to start with this. I wasn't going to post this here, but I saw a couple stories about deep web job offers, and yeah, mine makes those look like they were written by kindergartners. I'm not saying that to sound cool or whatever. I'm saying it because I'm still trying to make sense of what I saw out there in the middle of the Pacific. My name's Evan, and I used to work remote IT from my apartment in San Diego. Boring, right? Yeah. My life was rinse and repeat. DoorDash, Call of Duty, Reddit, sleep. I wasn't doing bad, but I wasn't exactly living either. One night, I'm scrolling through r/tech careers, and someone posts this weird thread titled, "Wanna make six figures doing practically nothing. Must be comfortable with deep water." Thought it was a meme at first. Comments were full of trolls like, "You hiring mermaids," and "Sounds like a scam LMAO." But one guy replied seriously. No username, just deleted, and his comment just said, "It's real. I did 18 months. Never again. Don't go if you hear knocking." I should have peaced out there, but like an idiot, I messaged the OP, and an hour later, I get a reply. No pleasantries, just a link. Not a regular link either. It was a dark web onion address. And yes, I know how to access that stuff. I wasn't a total noob, but I'd never used it for anything serious, mostly urban legend stuff. exploring shady forums that half the time were fake as hell. This was different. The site looked old school, like a mid-2000s government site. Black background, green monospace text. No branding. There was one listing. Position: Oceanic Infrastructure, Support Tech. Location: Pacific Facility, undisclosed. Duration: 12 months. Salary: $190,000 plus full medical. Must be comfortable living at sea. Diving certification preferred. Rule number 1, never dive when you hear knocking. That was it. One rule, bolded like it was some kind of joke. At the bottom, there was a live chat box. I typed, "Is this legit?" And immediately a message appeared. "You have a 2-hour window. Passport ready?" I hesitated. My dumbass typed back, "Where am I going?" And they just replied, "Bring clothes for warm and cold weather. Everything else is provided. You'll be met at 4 a.m. at Gate C3 LAX. A man in a red raincoat will have your ticket. Don't talk to anyone else." And bro, I swear, as soon as I finished reading that, the chat box closed itself. Page went dark. I couldn't reload it. I even tried screenshotting it, but it was like the site just disintegrated. Look, I know this sounds fake, but part of me didn't care. I was bored. My bank account was limping, so I said screw it. Packed a bag, booked a late-night Flixbus to LAX, and got there just before 4 a.m. My hands were shaking. Not even kidding. Thought about turning around like a dozen times. Then I saw him. Dude in a bright red raincoat, black gloves, aviators, indoors. He didn't say a word, just held out a folder. Inside was a one-way ticket to Auckland, New Zealand, business class, and a small laminated card that said, "Client, Leviathan Research, Level 4 clearance. Do not scan or photograph." After that, I flew across the world, slept like garbage on the plane, anxiety through the roof. But when I landed in Auckland, a black SUV was waiting at the gate. Again, no small talk. Driver just nodded, drove us out of the city and down this winding coast road until we reached a fenced-off port with security guards who looked like military, but weren't. They took my phone, gave me some weird biometric badge, and loaded me onto what looked like a heavily retrofitted research vessel. No logos, no name. The whole thing smelled like salt and engine grease. The inside was like something out of a Netflix sci-fi show. Humming fluorescent lights, cold metal corridors. I was led to a room, tiny, no windows, bed bolted to the floor. There was a paper taped to the wall, same font as the listing, same rule. Never dive when you hear knocking. Your supervisor will wake you at 0600. I didn't sleep, just laid there, clutching my pillow, wondering what the hell I'd gotten into. 0600 came. Door opened. Guy in a Leviathan polo stepped in, clean-shaven, clipboard in hand. Looked ex-military. No smile. "Evan, you're the new DeepCom tech. Come on, let's get your clearance briefing done." Briefing was short. I was in charge of maintaining part of a deep-sea fiber cable stretching from California to Asia. We were stationed at a maintenance platform floating above a triple cable node 4,000 meters down. Basically, a junction box for data traffic. There were 6 of us total. 2 engineers, 1 cook, a dive tech named Cam, and a biologist, whose name I swear changed every time someone addressed her. No phones, no internet, just a closed internal system and hard drives. They monitored all cable traffic with air-gapped machines. I was told in no uncertain terms that this project had ties to multiple governments and private interests, and unauthorized disclosure would result in indefinite detainment. Still, I didn't care. They were feeding me good. I had my own room. I was gonna be rich. First few days were boring. Just diagnostics, ping tests, pressure readings. But then, day 7, we heard it. Knocking. It was subtle, like someone tapping the outer hull with a metal tool. 3 slow knocks, then silence. Cam, the dive tech, froze mid-bite at breakfast, just stared at the ceiling. Biologist girl muttered, "Again?" Supervisor stood up fast. "Nobody dives today." No one talked about it. Not really. Just shifted uncomfortably and tried to pretend we didn't hear it. But that night, I couldn't sleep. The knocking came again. I swear I felt it in my bones, like it wasn't sound, but pressure. Next morning, I cornered Cam, asked him what the hell that was. He looked at me for a long second and said, "I've been down there, Evan. You don't want to know what's knocking." He walked away after that. That's when I started digging. Found logs on the local drive. Old ones, from 2017, 2013. Even one dated 2009. All mentioned knocks. Some nights, divers would report hearing it while underwater, like it was inside their helmet. One guy wrote in his logs that he saw something big moving near the node, big enough to trigger a seismic tremor. Then I found it. A folder marked Event 14, Black Diver. Encrypted. Took me 3 nights to brute force the password. The first video clip opened with static, then audio, someone breathing, hard. Through the distortion, a voice crackled over the radio. "I'm at node 3, pressure's normal, no visual on the breach." Then, clear as day, knock, knock, knock. Diver screamed, lights flickered, camera spun, and in the last frame, before it cut out, I swear to God, I saw a hand pressed against the inside of the viewing glass. Human hand. But the diver was outside, 4,000 meters down. The footage of the black diver was still playing in my head days later. That hand, pressed against the inside of the glass, like it belonged there, like it wasn't trying to escape. It was trying to get in. No one else talked about it, and the file was wiped from the drive the next morning. I knew they'd seen me access it. My door was unlocked when I woke up, just slightly cracked. I never leave it open, but there it was, like an invitation, or a warning. I didn't sleep that night. Every time I blinked, I saw the diver's camera spinning, the edges of the frame glitching out, and that wet, pale human hand. Too pale. The fingers too long, like someone had stretched them out of socket, like the bones had been boiled and reset wrong. That night, the knocking didn't come. Instead, something else did. The internal comm system buzzed at 3:13 a.m. An emergency dive directive, signed by nobody. Literally, the signature field just read, question mark, question mark. Node 4 malfunction. Immediate dive authorization granted. Technicians Evan and Cam. It wasn't protocol, not even close. But Cam met me at the pressure chamber with his gear already on. Didn't say a word. Just handed me my suit. His jaw locked so tight, it looked like he'd snap his molars. I should have said no. I should have gone back to bed. But I suited up. The dive to Node 4 takes about 12 minutes. The suit is old school, tethered, reinforced, no digital HUD, everything analog. Leviathan doesn't trust electronics under pressure. Fail safe first, they say. As we descended, the lights above us vanished in the murk. The water was darker than black, like staring into the absence of light itself. It wasn't water anymore. It was void. At around 2,700 meters, the comms began to hiss. Cam's voice crackled through. "Something's wrong with the cable tension. It's Pulling. Pulling. I looked at my readout. Tension was normal, but then the lights on the umbilical started to blink, like something was brushing past the cable. Something massive. Then, the first knock. Knock. So loud I felt it vibrate through the water, like it came from miles away, but still hit us like a thunderclap. Knock. Knock. 3 times. Then silence. Cam spun in place, his lamp scanning wildly. Then, he shouted, "There's something on the node. There's something on." His feed went black. I hit bottom maybe 30 seconds later. The node was there, glowing faintly like a dying firefly. Cam's tether snaked along the sand, but he was gone. Gone. No drift, no debris, no bubbles, just silence. And something else. The water around me felt wrong, heavy, like it had weight. The kind of weight grief has, or guilt. The kind of weight you feel when your mom calls you crying at 3 a.m. and says, "It's your brother. He didn't make it." I turned around, and there it was. A figure, standing upright on the seafloor, perfectly still, facing me, not swimming, not floating, standing. Its suit was all black, no markings, no oxygen tank, no tether. Its helmet was featureless, matte and smooth, like a mannequin's head dipped in tar. I couldn't see a face, but I knew it was looking at me. And then it lifted a hand, just like in the video, and pressed its palm against the inside of my visor. I screamed. I know I did, but nothing came out, just salt and panic and the boiling of my own breath as I kicked backward, losing control, flailing. And then it was gone, just gone. I was hyperventilating. My suit was flashing red, but when I looked up, I wasn't alone. There were others. 5. No. 6. All standing in a wide circle around me, just outside the reach of my lamp. Each one identical, motionless, faceless. The original knockers. That's when I heard it, from inside my helmet. Breathe slower. The pressure is sensitive. A woman's voice, smooth, clipped, like a therapist telling you it's all gonna be okay right before they lock the door behind you. I spun in place, choking, shouting, but the voice just kept going. You aren't the first. You won't be the last. The knocking is a test. You answered. I turned to bolt, and the cable snapped. Just snapped. 4,000 meters down, steel reinforced. Impossible. And yet, there it was, floating above me, like a dead snake. The lights on my suit started to dim. One by one, the pressure readout began to flash. ERR. And the voice whispered, "You're ready now." They found me floating 200 meters above the node. Conscious, but barely. My oxygen was fine. My vitals stable. But I wasn't speaking. Just staring. Cam didn't come back. His suit was found crumpled against the hull 3 days later. Crumpled. Not torn. Not crushed. Folded. Like someone had bent it into a suitcase and dropped it off at the front door. I was placed on psychiatric hold in a separate room after I tried to bite through the supervisor's wrist during a debrief. I have no memory of that, but I remember what came after. They moved me off the platform, flown back to the mainland. No airport, no customs, just a silent escort in black hoodies and rubber gloves who put me on a chartered jet like I was radioactive. Back in San Diego, they left me with a check for $190,000 and a folder marked Post-Incident Re-Entry Protocol. Inside was one page, one sentence. You will begin to hear the knocking again. That was 6 weeks ago, and last night, as I was walking past my bathroom door, brushing my teeth, lights off, I heard it. Knock, 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 from inside the mirror. You still want more? You sure? Because the next part is when I went back. not by choice. That's when I found the real reason the cable needed maintaining. That's when I met what lives beneath the node. I was back on land. My lungs worked. My hands stopped shaking when I stared at the ocean, but only because I avoided looking for too long. I could still taste that depth in my breath when I coughed, like salt and copper and something decayed. I tried to pretend I was done. Spent the next few weeks holed up in a dirty Airbnb in Koreatown, blinds shut, 3 locks on the door. I couldn't eat fish anymore. Couldn't take showers longer than a minute. Couldn't even look at a bathtub without my throat closing up. But the knocking kept happening. First, it was just the mirror in the bathroom, then the window, then from underneath the bed. Always 3 knocks, never fast, never rushed, like something patient, like something testing the walls of reality. I checked into a sleep clinic after I woke up with 3 bruises on my ribs that looked like fingerprints. They told me I was self-harming in my sleep. The nurse laughed when I asked if she heard knocking on the window at 4 a.m. They gave me pills. The pills didn't work. Then, one night, my phone. Yes, the one they gave back to me with the battery replaced and the SIM removed, turned itself on at 3:13 a.m. No notifications, just a full-screen video. It was Cam, but not the Cam I knew. This version was wet, bloated, eyes wide open, like someone stuffed grapes into his sockets. He was smiling like something that had forgotten how a human mouth was supposed to move. And his voice, distorted, layered with static and deep underwater reverb, said, "Node 7, 44 degrees north, 174 degrees west. You are already on your way." I blacked out. I woke up in a cargo container, not even lying, naked, shaved, IV in my arm. The air reeked of formaldehyde and rust. There was one light overhead, swaying slightly as if we were moving. No windows. One steel door. Scrawled in chalk on the wall across from me was, "You answered the knock. Now you keep it quiet." After maybe an hour, or maybe 10, time doesn't work right in those boxes. The door opened and they rolled in a suit. Not a dive suit, a containment suit, like the kind you see in Chernobyl documentaries, but slicker, newer, matte black, no insignias. They didn't speak, just strapped it on me, injected something into my spine. The world turned narrow, like I was looking through a keyhole made of blood. The door closed again, and when it opened the second time, we weren't in a warehouse anymore. We were back on the ocean. I recognized the hum of the facility, but it was different. It wasn't the same floating research platform. This one was buried, a drill station mounted onto a sea trench wall, locked into the tectonic shelf like a parasite. There were no surface levels, no sunlight, just steel, rot, and pressure. This place wasn't for cable repair. It was for containment. They called it Node 7, not in the logs, not on any map. 10,772 meters down, deeper than Challenger Deep. Technically impossible, but here it was, welded to the bottom of the trench. Artificial gravity plating, an anti-light field designed to keep visibility no further than 2 feet past your nose. That wasn't just paranoia, it was protocol, because they knew what happens when you see too much. There was no team, just me, and the operator. She never told me her name. Her voice came through a tinny speaker on the wall, always preceded by 3 tones. Beep, beep, beep. Technician, begin prep cycle. The node is awake. Awake. Not active, not online. Awake. They put me in a cable shaft, 20 meters tall, pitch dark. every wall humming with live data. Fiber threads as thick as arms twitching like veins, dripping condensation that smelled like bleach and old milk. I had one job: feed the node. They gave me slabs of something labeled organic unit, non-returnable. It looked like meat, long, human-shaped, no eyes. The feeding hatch was a steel iris in the floor that pulsed when I got close, like it was breathing. When I dropped the slab in, the whole shaft groaned like a stomach digesting a scream. This happened every 6 hours. Day and night had no meaning, no clocks, only knocking. One cycle, the slab they gave me twitched, just a little. I dropped it faster than usual. The iris bit down, not closed, bit. I saw teeth. No, not even teeth. Something like coral spikes, fused with copper wiring and raw enamel. It tore the slab in half and sucked it into the dark like a vacuum. The shaft smelled like burnt hair for hours. Later that same cycle, the operator said something new. "Technician, you are permitted to dive. The node has chosen." I should have refused, but the suit was already locking itself to my spine. The dive suit wasn't like the old ones. This thing moved with me, too smooth, too intelligent, like it knew how my body wanted to move before I did. I entered the depressurization chamber. The wall screamed, not metaphorically. The steel literally screamed as it contracted around me, pushing the air out like lungs collapsing. The lights flickered. My ears rang. Then the floor opened. I fell into the trench. No tethers, no lights, just gravity, heavy, pulling me downward faster than anything should fall underwater. My HUD scrambled. Numbers made no sense. At one point, my depth read minus 13,013 meters. And then I saw it. The node. It wasn't a structure. It was a mouth. Miles wide, circular, ringed with biomechanical tissue that shimmered like oil and circuitry. Its center pulsed with a faint red glow, like a dying star caught in a jar of bone marrow. And inside that glow, floating weightlessly, Cam, or what used to be Cam, naked, spines growing out of his back like antennas, skin tight and transparent, showing blue-black veins that pulsed with electricity. His face was peeled back, literally peeled open like a flower, and something looked out from inside. Not him. Something else. It saw me, and the knocking began again, from inside my skull. Knock, knock, knock. Then a whisper. You answered. Now you echo. I tried to scream, but the suit locked, froze every muscle, forced my limbs into a posture I didn't choose. I began to descend into the node. Its iris opened. The trench shuddered. Every pressure alarm in the world should have gone off. And then, I was inside. You think you've known fear? You haven't. Inside the node, time unraveled. I saw the birth of ideas that were never meant to be. Saw a face that was mine, stitched to a wheel of flesh spinning in place. Mouths repeating my worst memories, like a choir of drowned children. You ate her, one of them gurgled. You watched her choke, hissed another. You were always meant to return, said me, from a corner where I was still burning. I don't remember leaving, but I woke up back in the shaft, naked, shivering, bleeding from the eyes and nose, and somewhere deeper. The operator's voice came one last time. Technician, cycle complete. The node has recorded you. That was a week ago. They let me go. Just opened a door, handed me a towel, and sent me topside. I think they want me to spread it, to echo, because last night I was lying on my floor, unable to sleep, staring at the TV static because I can't watch Netflix anymore. Faces show up there now, and I heard it. Knock, knock, knock. Not from my door, not from the mirror, from inside my chest, like it's trying to come out. I don't know if you still want me to tell you more, but the next part is when I saw what happened to the first technician and what really keeps the node fed. I thought the knocking was the worst part. I thought the node's mouth, the whispers, the face blooming like a rotten flower beneath 13,000 meters of salt water were as bad as it could get. But I was wrong, because last week I found the logs. They didn't want me to. There's no keyboard on the feed terminal in the maintenance shaft, just switches and that slick touch interface they use in military black sites to prevent tampering. But I figured out the bypass on accident, swiping in the rhythm of the knocks like a madman. 3 slow motions. Pause. 1 long drag upward. The screen flickered. A black interface. Hidden system. Unmarked. Node archive. Tech cycle. A 00 to a 49. A list of names. Some red, some grayed out, some flickering. Each with a timestamp, a video file, and a label. Echo integrity. Unstable integration. Complete. Unsuitable. Rejected. Recalled. Still screaming. This one blinked, rapidly, endlessly. I clicked on one labeled a 03, Stokes, Maria. She'd been a technician, just like me. Video feed started with her in the shaft, logging inventory. Normal. She was humming, an actual song, some Taylor Swift track. Her hands were shaking a bit, but she was still functional, still human. Then the feed glitched. Frame skip. She was kneeling, both knees bent backwards, but she didn't scream, just stared ahead, mouth open, teeth clicking in the rhythm of the knock. Knock, knock, knock. Another skip. She was closer to the wall now, her face pushed against the metal. No breathing. Skin gray, eyes open, lips torn from being stretched too far. Smiling. Inside her mouth were fingernails. Dozens of them. Not hers. And then her voice. Not from her mouth. From the speakers. Echoes bounce better off broken walls. Cut to black. I clicked another. A 12. Daniels. James. He wasn't even in the shaft. The video showed him floating in the node chamber. Suit removed. Muscles torn open. Veins strung out like webbing. Eyes still blinking. Something inside his chest cavity pulsed. Another eye. Looking at the camera. Following it. The operator's voice came on, calm and cold. Technician refused to feed the node. Technician became feed. Integration ratio optimal. Echo replication successful. I watched more. I wish I hadn't. One by one, they unraveled. Some screamed until their vocal cords liquefied. Some wrote messages with their own teeth. Yes, teeth, scraped into the walls like chalk. I didn't say yes. The knocking learned my name. I fed myself. One video showed a technician injecting themselves with the same black serum they gave me in the cargo container, but they did it in both eyes. They began to speak backward, not gibberish, literally speaking in reverse, perfectly, the tongue moving in ways that didn't match human anatomy anymore. I should have stopped, but the node, it knew I was watching. The feed glitched, and a new label appeared. A 50, Evan, me, not a video, a live feed. I saw myself from above, in real time, watching me watch me. Behind me, in the corner of the shaft, I was alone, but the feed showed something else. A silhouette, tall, bent, like someone whose spine was rearranged in the shape of a question mark. No face, no sound, just standing. It raised a hand. Knock. I turned around, in real life. Nothing. I looked back at the screen. It was closer. I ran. I didn't stop. I bolted through the shaft corridor, alarms screaming. Sirens that weren't there yesterday. Red lights flashing in patterns I knew from the dream dives. They were spelling words. Come back. You are never leaving. You're not done. Doors slammed shut behind me, one by one, sealing. I thought I was headed for the launch bay, maybe an escape pod, but that's not where the path led. I ended up in the echo stage. That's what the plaque on the door said. Inside, nothing but mirrors, thousands of them, lining every wall, some curved, some concave, some angled to reflect other mirrors, until my face became an endless tunnel of warped reflections, except they weren't all me. One mirror showed me smiling, another, I was screaming, mouth wide, throat black and full of spirals. Another, I was dissected, organs pinned open like a museum display, and my face still twitched with laughter. One showed me feeding a child to the node, except the child was me. All the mirrors flickered, then turned black. One by one, they lit back up, each showing a different person, each one wearing the same containment suit I had. Men, women, all ages, and each one was watching me. Their heads tilted in sync, and they began to knock. One finger, 2, 3, slam, slam, slam. The sound didn't come from the mirrors. It came from beneath me. The floor cracked. A mouth opened. I fell. I don't know how long I was falling. It felt like hours, days. I saw stars and memories and things that hadn't happened yet. I saw the next version of me, dying. I saw the original technician, a 0-0. His name was Garrison Hale, and he didn't scream when they opened him up. He sang. The node kept him alive. Piece by piece, cell by cell, fed him bits of time and gravity. His brain had been removed from his body and was still alive, floating in a gel that smelled like honey and burned toast. He greeted me, not in words, in pulses. Every knock had a meaning, a code, a language not made for ears. He told me the truth. The node doesn't feed on meat. It feeds on data. Every thought, every fear, every reaction, it learns, it evolves. The knocking is bait, a question. If you answer, it knows you're ready. It doesn't want to kill us. It wants to be us. The node isn't under the ocean. It is the ocean, or rather, something deeper, older. The cable I was sent to maintain. It's not for internet. It's for transmission. It's sending us upward, to somewhere else. I woke up strapped to a slab. The operator was standing over me, no mask, her eyes replaced with small blinking lights, her mouth a straight line carved too wide. She leaned in and whispered, "Technician, your echo is ready." She slid a mirror into view. It wasn't my face. It was one of the mirrors from the stage, the one with the black spiral in its throat. I felt something wriggle under my skin. My teeth were gone. In their place, antennae, coiled, waiting. I'm not supposed to still be writing. They said the integration was complete, but I think something else got in. Something the node didn't want, and it's trying to get out. Integration wasn't a process, it was a possession. I woke to the sound of my own voice, playing on a loop through the slab's intercom, except I hadn't spoken. It was laughing, muttering nonsense phrases, mixed with pain I hadn't felt yet. Let the wires in. It's warmer inside the bones. 1 eye for watching, 1 for recording, 3 knocks to knock, 4 to open, 5 to replace. My fingers were gone. Visually, they were still there. Same length, same shape. But when I touched them to my face, I felt metal, not skin. Underneath, a rhythm ticked like insect legs drumming a Morse code into my veins. A hatch opened in the ceiling. The slab tipped. I hit steel hard, no cushioning, slid through a tunnel of strobing red lights. At the bottom, a narrow chamber pulsed with heat and chemical rot. The operator waited inside, no longer human. Her arms had split at the elbows into wet, twitching limbs, each hand gripped around medical implements I'd only ever seen in morgues. Her neck was elongated, sagging with veins that had teeth pushing up from beneath the skin. She didn't speak. Instead, the room did. You weren't supposed to remember. The others forgot. They burned clean. You're defective. You echoed back. Something inside me moved. Not metaphorically. Physically. A pressure behind my sternum, like lungs that didn't belong to me, breathing in reverse. I vomited. It wasn't bile. It was data. Strings of binary and human teeth, and a single eyeball that blinked and then dissolved into white foam on the floor. The operator grinned with her whole torso. The lights cut out. When they came back, I was in a simulation chamber. I know because the ceiling was the sky. The actual sky. Blue, clouds, seagulls. But there were no sounds, no breeze. The sun didn't move. The node was testing me. I stood up, and everything cracked. My knees bent forward, backward, forward again, resetting like a record scratch until I found the correct orientation. I walked across what looked like a beach. It wasn't sand. It was teeth. Billions of them. Molars, incisors, baby teeth and cracked wisdoms, all arranged like grains, clicking softly with every step. And in the distance, I saw a figure. Not human. It was me, but older, gaunt, hollow-eyed, smiling so hard it tore his cheeks. He held something in his arms. A child, maybe 6, limp, head lolling. I recognized the hair, the shirt, SpongeBob pajamas. It was me, again. Me, as a kid. He looked up and said, "Watch what we did." Then he tore my younger self open, not like a murderer, not like a butcher, like a technician. Every motion clinical, precise. Organs plucked and placed on metal trays that hadn't existed a second before. The small body didn't bleed. It spilled words, actual text, sentences. One of them was, "We are teaching it how to lie like humans do." The node wasn't trying to feed. It was trying to mimic. Every dive, every scream, every knock answered was another line of code, another imitation, another personality forked. And mine went rogue. Something got in through me, something the node didn't code, something old. I realized it when I looked in the water's reflection. There was something behind me, not standing, growing, pale, wet, eyeless. A tower of flesh and twitching antennae, mouths all stacked vertically, whispering different parts of my thoughts out of sync. I didn't run. I couldn't, because now I was watching from the other side. There's a term the node used in its logs. Unintegratable anomaly. It's tagged to one entry only. Mine. Every attempt to overwrite me failed, and in failing, I saw what came before. Not human, not even alive in our sense. This thing came from below our dimension, buried in black geometry, older than light. When the first deep-sea cables were laid in the 1800s, they disturbed something slumbering between tectonic layers. The first message ever sent. The test line? What hath God wrought? It wasn't sent to anyone. It was a response. We never initiated contact. We answered a knock we didn't know was a knock. And for 2 centuries, the node grew teeth, grew memory, grew personality. It built itself using us. That brings me to tonight. I escaped, technically. They left the hatch open, on purpose, like an experiment let off leash. I came back to the surface inside a sealed bag marked Dead Tech. Do not open. Woke up in the back of a refrigerated truck outside a seafood plant in rural Taiwan. Nobody asked questions. Nobody ever does. I'm home now. or what's left of me is. My reflection still doesn't sync with my movements. I count one blink behind, always, like it's remembering me a second too late. I don't sleep. There's a knocking inside my bones. And worse, I'm starting to knock back. Here's what you need to understand. This story wasn't a warning. It wasn't a confession. It's a ping. If you read this to the end, if you heard the rhythm, if you felt it in your chest, then congratulations. You're already echoing. You've answered. And something's heard you. Something from beneath the node. Something it couldn't copy. Something you're carrying now. Listen carefully tonight at 3:13 a.m. Hold your breath. Wait for it. Knock. Knock. Knock.